Every day, 8 people will die and 1,161 will be injured in crashes involving distracted drivers, according to the CDC. As college students, this issue affects all of us, being part of the age group most likely to be in a crash involving cell phone-based distractions. Everyone here probably knows someone who has texted and driven.
As young adults in modern society, we have cell phones and have witnessed people attempt to text and drive without knowing the danger they place on themselves and others. Texting and driving is very dangerous and needs to be stopped.
We are going to tell you about texting and driving, then the effects of texting and driving, and the possible solutions to make it something we know more about. What is distracted driving and why is it so dangerous? First, Allison will talk about the reasons why people text and drive.
Everyone knows texting and driving is dangerous. However, many people do it anyway. There are a few main reasons for this. Even though we are taught that it is bad, people often don't think about the consequences. They think they're not at risk because they're skilled enough. I'm good at it, or I do it all the time, are often excuses. These are not good reasons. Looking away from the steering wheel for just a few seconds can be enough time for a car crash to occur. Texting and driving happens all the time. According to the Huffington Post, in 2015, 33% of U.S. drivers ages 18 to 64 reported reading or writing a text while driving just during the last month. This is a very high number, and it's only the people who reported it. Others may be embarrassed and not willing to admit to it. Now that we have seen how many people text and drive, the real question is, why do they do it? There are two main reasons for this. They're trying to be productive, and they're addicted to their phones. In our world, we feel like we always need to be doing more than one thing at a time. If we're not, we're wasting time. A perfect example of this is driving. When we're driving, we feel like we're not getting anything done. While texting, people may feel like they're getting something accomplished. The next reason people text and drive is social pressures and addiction to their phones. According to DoSomething.org, 9 in 10 teens expect a reply to a text within 5 minutes or less. This puts pressure on teens to text while driving. They feel they must respond right away. People are also addicted to their phones. Some people feel they must check their phones every few minutes, and if they don't, they become anxious. Other people are worried they might miss something important. As you can see, there are a few reasons why people may text and drive. Next, Sydney will talk about the effects of texting and driving.
Texting and driving has many consequences that can fall in one of two categories: immediate and prolonged. The most common immediate effects are injury and death and damage to property. By far, the most impactful effect is injury, both minor and severe, and quite possibly the most detrimental consequence of texting and driving: death. According to Distraction.gov, in 2014, 3,179 people were killed and 431,000 were injured in crashes involving distracted drivers. And people ages 20 to 29 are the most likely to get into a crash. The average time a person takes their eyes off the road to text while driving is about 5 seconds. If that person is going 55 miles per hour, they've traveled the length of a football field in that time. Imagine the number of objects, animals, children you could have hit in that time. Texting and driving can also cause damage to other vehicles and property. In the event of a crash, more often than not, one or more vehicles will sustain significant damage. And public, personal, or private property may also be damaged, and if that damage reaches a certain amount, police might be required to be on site to assess criminal charges. There are also many lasting effects to texting and driving, 2 of them being financial and emotional and psychological impacts. In most vehicular crash cases, there are many expenses that need to be covered. Vehicles may become damaged or even totaled, and insurance may cover some or all of it, but a lot of people don't have insurance, so they have to pay that cost out of pocket. As noted by eSurance, your driving record follows you around everywhere for a long time. After an accident that you are at fault for, your premium will most likely go up and stay up. While you're paying that raised insurance premium, you could have been using that money to pay for more important things, like college. Quite possibly, the most long-lasting effect is the emotional and psychological impact after a crash. Those who have been involved in a crash that has involved injury or death have to live with the guilt of killing another person. Imagine being responsible for your best friend's death because you were texting and driving, because you just couldn't wait to respond. That weight can drag a person down for years or even their entire life. Those who suffer the most are those who were close to the ones who passed because of texting and driving. AT&T's It Can Wait campaign focuses on those impacted by texting and driving. Most of them still feel remorse or are still heartbroken by the loss of a loved one. Lastly, Jacob will talk about a few of the solutions to texting and driving.
There are two types of ways to prevent distracted driving: passive ways and active ways. Passive prevention includes things that are happening in your life around you all the time without you really having to think about it. One of the best ways to passively not text and drive is to just not do it at all. If you have the preconceived notion that you do not need to pick up your phone whenever it buzzes or rings while you're driving, then it will not become a problem for you. Because this is difficult for most people, other ways of dealing with this are having higher ticket costs and jail time for texting and driving. If you knew that you would be ticketed $500 for just picking up your phone while driving, then you wouldn't need to do it. Education is the second best way to passively prevent distracted driving. In education, it helps people understand what they're actually doing wrong and why it is a problem. An organization called Young Responsible Drivers in Belgium did a driving test for young adults in 2012 to teach how difficult it really was. In this driving test, the instructor made all of the students believe that they had to text and drive properly in order to pass the test. Throughout the test, he would do things like make sure that they were using proper grammar, but still looking at the road, making sure that they're checking it often, and still have their hands on the wheel, making this a very difficult challenge for all the students. By the end, every single one of them quit. They realized that they could not do it after numerous accounts of them almost crashing into things around the course. Now for active prevention. Active prevention is something that most of us need, as we do not have already been educated or we really like to pick up our phones. Active prevention is a way to say to yourself, I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to use other tools to make sure that I don't. The best one is apps, using our phone against itself. If we were going to use our phone while we're driving, use an app to prevent you from doing so. An app called Safe Ride, installed on your phone, will, when receiving a text, first of all, not let you receive the notification, and then automatically reply to the sender something along the lines of, I'm driving right now, I'll get back to you later. This is from Forbes.com. The app turns on and starts its usage on your phone when you go above about 20 miles per hour. The person who invented this app was only in 11th grade. Other types of ways to help yourself are to invest in new modern car technology. Cars have things built into the steering wheel. You can operate the music, change songs, reply to phone calls, and such items without having to take your eyes off the road. This can be very powerful, and I strongly suggest purchasing a car that has these types of features. When using these types of features in a car, it helps you keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the steering wheel.
As you can see, texting and driving is a huge problem in the US. Today, we told you about the cause and effect and some possible solutions to texting and driving.
Remember that every time you pick up a cell phone while driving, you are not only endangering yourself, but all those around you, the parents, babies, students. Do you want to be responsible for all that life at one time? Could you live with the life of another human being in your hands? Stop distracted driving, put down the phone, and pay attention to the road. Nothing is that important. Just tell yourself, it can wait.